Hey, everybody. This is Coach Powell calling in at Coffee Tea, you and me. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Friday, and I hope you're getting set up for an amazing weekend. Today's show is super, super special, just like all of our shows. We are talking today about authentic praise, and we are finishing up a series of modules we've been working on for the last 13 weeks um, to help you understand how you can create the most positive, engaging, appropriate culture for anything and everything you want to do in your business, in your life, around you, right? And it all starts with understanding all the benefits of the RAP approach. Now, today we're capping out the authentic praise part of the RAP approach, but next week we're going to cap out the entire process. So if you've been hanging out with us for the last 13 weeks, you understand already how to use respect, how to use affection, and now how to use praise. And next week, we're going to cap it all up, wrap it all up. But today's discussion comes from all the research that I've done over the last few weeks. And I put that research together in a document that's in the chat right now. They're right there in your chat box. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and download that document, open it up, start to read, start to pay attention, find the things that resonate with you, look at the opportunities, ideas. You understand when I put this document together, as I do all of my training materials, I looked at this from not just um, a what Marvin thinks perspective. In this document, I shared a few stories, some client stories, some made up stories. I share some of the philosophical and deeply held spiritual concepts and ideas around this concept of authentic praise. We looked at some of the text and some of the popular language that is being used and has been used around this notion of authentic praise. And then finally, we took a deep dive into the neurological aspects of authentic praise and how it affects both the giver as well as the receiver. What we took you one step further. We created a whole series of questions that you, as a person who wants to create a positive culture, positive environment, positive energy around you, questions that you need to be asking yourself and questions that you need to ask each other. These same questions can be turned into affirmation statements. And we gave you examples of how to turn that question into affirmation statements. And I encourage you to take these affirmation statements, post them on your wall, put them on your screen, put them someplace where you can see them every day as you're doing your daily reflection and planning, and begin to look through and ask yourself, what can I do today to further this? Because it gives you a great opportunity to start to think highly about what you're doing. So before we get into the topic today, um, the overview of the topic today, I want to thank a couple of people. This show and my other show, Inside the Business Mind, and my other show, the Leverage Up Space, right? None of these could happen without the blessing, the sponsorship, the opportunities of my fraternity brothers of Phi Beta Sigma. I'm so proud of them and so proud of their approaches to bigger and better business. In so many things that we do for our national program. I'd love for you, if you're an entrepreneur and you're a business leader and you haven't taken advantage of some of the benefits of the bigger and better business program of Phi Beta Sigma, just go on our website, look for the bigger and better business program, and you will find a large amount of information and tons of history. This program it was our first national program. And since the organization has been around since 1914, this national program came into effect shortly uh, after the Great Depression. If I'm correct, if I'm not correct, you guys can fix me on that. But it became our first national program, and actually became the moniker for our organization. Sigma Men are about business first. And our whole job is to look for the economic development of the Black and minority communities in this country, to make sure we're doing what we need to do to support them. So no matter what goes on in the nation, no matter what the federal government supports, we are going to support these businesses. And we have a robust program, robust opportunity for them. So if you're paying attention to this, you want to share this with a friend, let them know. You can find us, and you can look for that business support that you can get from Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. If you're a small minority-owned business, it might be something you want to pay attention to. So thankful for that. I'm also want to be thankful for all of my clients. I have so many clients that have volunteered their time and effort to come on the show and on these various many shows that I do. Inside the Business Mind is another show that we do. That's a show that we do that will highlight and spotlight business leaders that are doing amazing things. But the most important thing about this show, it's not a sales show. It's not about trying to buy a product or service. It's about understanding the actual mind, the heart, the soul, the spirit of the entrepreneur, the business leader that's bringing these ideas out. That's the goal of Inside the Business Mind, because we want you to get to trust a lot faster than you get to. And if you're just thinking about a transaction, you're really not going to get there. But if you're thinking about the person who built the company, and you're thinking about what their mentality was, what they were feeling when they built the company, you're going to much better enjoy who they are, and you're going to know something about them that you can trust, instead of just, oh, I built this wonderful product, or I built this wonderful service, you should buy from me. It's kind of lame. So if you're out there looking for mentors, if you're out there looking for people who can help you, it's a good show to watch. And by the way, all the shows are taped, recorded, and they're on demand on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. Some of them are on Instagram, but you can go back and look at the shows that we put together, because we want to make this information available for everyone. The last thing I want to tell you is, we are a very, very business friendly organization. What do I mean by that? If you have an idea, if you have a product, if you have a service, if you have an event coming up, if you have a launch coming up, if you have something that you want people to know and understand, put that information in the chat. Tell them how to get in contact with you. Tell us where you're phoning in from. Tell us, ask any question that you could ask, even if it doesn't have anything to do with the topic that we're talking about. because we're seeking to create community. We want people to be a part of this process, to engage in this process. Right. Turn off all the noise that you're dealing with and truly focus. Try to pay attention to what's being said in the chat by your fellow entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs out there, business leaders, and make sure that you're giving them the attention. Because I find that, you know, kind of early peek into today's topic, it's impossible for you to effectively give and share authentic praise with someone when you haven't done the work of paying attention. More about that a little later when I have a brief moment. Oh, by the way, if you get a chance to share the show, if you get a chance to um, follow the show on either Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all three, whatever makes you happy, we want to be a part of that. We want to be a part of your success. We want you to be a part of our success. And we believe in the great we. We as the Phi Beta Sigma men, we are an inclusive organization. We don't believe in separating anyone out. We don't believe in making anyone feel uncomfortable or one-upping anyone. We're not about that. We're about inclusivity. And we focus on that in all of our language and everything that we do. And so this show is no different. So if you have an idea, you want to put it out there, put it out there. You never know. Somebody might respond. Somebody might agree, appreciate it. And if it's good, if it's a juicy one, I'll put you up on screen and we'll see where we go for that opportunity, right? So thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for paying attention. I really, really appreciate each and every one of you. Some of you come in here week after week after week after week and you share your opportunities and your thoughts. And I really, really, it's really so special to me. I cannot say that your attention isn't important because it is valuable. So thank you very much for engaging. Thank you very much for paying attention. Let's get this party started today. I gotta do a little brief commercial. Just check it out. Check this out. I like that, right? Okay, this is Coffee Tea with me, Coach Powell, every Friday around about the 3 o'clock hour. I come on and I share this broadcast live with you. We talk about ideas that are relevant that I've gotten from my clients. I've gotten from people that I've engaged with, people who've watched the show in the past and they've asked me questions. And so I create training curriculums that really, really explore the topic deeper and so that we can have some robust and energetic conversation around these topics. Today's topic is no different. Today we're talking about authentic praise. And the information I'm going to share with you comes from an article that I wrote, and you're going to see that article, but it's a long article. So I'm not going to go into every detail of the article because I've already spent the last 6 weeks just working through that for everybody who's paying attention. So I want to make sure you have a copy of it because this is the first time I'm releasing an actual copy of it for you all to have. I haven't published this article anywhere. So the only place you're going to get it right now is at the link that I've shared with you in the chat for Facebook, LinkedIn, and so on and so forth. So you're going to go in and download that, put it on your own hard drive or whatever you want to do. You can't mess with it because it's a PDF file, and it is trademarked. So I want to make sure you know that this is our work, right? This is me and all of my LinkedIn friends and all of my chat box friends, and we all came together to create this information for you. So be respectful as you go forward with it. I don't mind you sharing it. I don't mind you talking about it, but you don't need to go in and start to change it and create something of your own based on this. That would be plagiarism. You don't want to do that. You don't want to get involved in any of that. But anyway, here's the article. The name of the article is Take a Praise Break. The character-driven thought leadership advantage. Now, there's a reason why I gave it this title. Because to truly and authentically leverage what we call authentic praise, you're going to have to take the time to do something out of the ordinary. I mean, I know some of you are so grateful and you have so much gratitude and you tell people all the time how wonderful they are, how talented they are, how smart they are, how courageous they are, or you give them praise all the time. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about the general all the time, every time you meet somebody or see somebody kind of praise. We're talking about something very, very specific, something very, very meaningful. And so something that comes from your character. It comes from your character and it speaks to the character of other people. If you do this right. One of my favorite quotes is from Vince Lombardi. And he shared with us, praise is the breakfast of champions. Think about that for a second. First thing in the morning, you hear before practice, before rehearsal, before you start to get up, before you start doing anything else, you get a word of praise from somebody who you respect and somebody who respects you. And that praise hits you right where you need to be hit to energize you, to get you focused on not just what you're doing, but who you are, how meaningful your contribution is going to be, right? If you get up every day thinking, I'm going to make a meaningful contribution, I'm going to do something special, I'm going to create some energy around me that's going to attract all kinds of glorious positive opportunities. And you feel that way because someone else took the time to know you, to understand you, to receive your talents and gifts and understand how those talents and gifts can be used. And they gave you that word of praise. How special would your day be if you had that every day? Coach Lombardi understood a couple things. Mr. William James said this: the deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. I'm not sure that's the deepest principle in human nature, but it's pretty close to the top. And in all the research that I've done, I'm going to share some of that with you later on. It is palpable for every person on the planet. I'm not saying it's the greatest longing of their heart. I'm not saying it's the most important thing for your life or your day. But let's think about this in the reverse. If no one ever said to you, I see you, I saw what you did, I loved it, and I'm going to be able to use it to do this something even more amazing or something amazing for myself. And I would not be able to do this if it would not be for what I witnessed or saw you doing, right? I'm sure that most of us have had this kind of encouragement from someone. At least in our infancy, there were people who helped develop the skills we needed to walk, right? They had to hold our hand. They had to encourage us when we fell down. They had to help us get back up. They had to focus. They had to spend the time and attention to help us create that skill. And then for those of us who really had loving and parents and a family and people around us, they helped us understand how to speak correctly. They helped us understand how to fit into an organization or a group. They helped us understand that we belong to them, and so therefore we understand how to manufacture or recreate that sense of belonging in other places, right? That's called socialization. If we don't get to learn how to participate and engage and appreciate one another and be a part of society, it becomes very difficult. We become isolated. We become lonely. We become, difficult to deal with by other people. We become unruly. We become, we become people that are not people that don't fit in. Now, here's the problem with that. In studies of loneliness and isolation, we realize that because humans are mammals like every other mammal, we need other mammals. We need each other specifically and to engage with, to understand, to deal with. And if we don't have one another to deal with, we don't just get lonely. We feel depressed. We feel isolated. We feel like we don't matter. And it's easy health wise to start to deteriorate and not do the things we need to do to stay focused, energized, and available for one another. You get what I'm saying? So it's our responsibility not to allow that to happen to one another. And the way we do it, one of the best ways we do it, I mean, it's in several different ways. We're going to go over RAPapproach in the complete series of it next week. But just this authentic praise piece is so special. When you get it right, it's just it's an amazing thing. Now, I have to say, and I've said this before, if I'm being honest, I don't always pay enough attention to everybody around me in my associations, in my workplace, and even in the house. I don't pay enough attention to them to be able to catch them doing something that impresses me. Now, of course, there's two things, right? First of all, I got to pay attention, right? But when I say pay attention, I'm not talking about just being in their presence. You're doing something else, they're doing something else. I'm saying focus. Really spend the time. Check them out. See what they're doing. See what they're doing in the workplace. See what your spouse is doing in the kitchen. See what your friends are doing in organizations or places where you are. See what your associates are doing. Watch them do what they do, and see if you're not impressed with something about what they're doing. See if you're not fascinated. Now, don't get me wrong. I get it. Everybody's not doing something fascinating. But I promise you, this is a muscle that you can exercise. The more you pay attention to what people are doing and what they're saying and what they're experiencing, the more you get better at paying attention. And the more you get better at paying attention, the more people start to reveal themselves. The more they become more comfortable sharing the best of them, the more you start to see and understand something that you can appreciate in them. Now, a couple weeks ago, I started talking to you all about what respect was all about. And I shared with you a definition of respect. That is the actual dictionary definition of respect. And respect means to honor and or hold someone in high regard for something specific that you saw them do, know they did, or around when or felt that was something special that they gave or presented. So basically, you can't even respect someone without taking the time to get to know them and to catch them doing something amazing, right? Same thing. Respect now is a precursor to praise. You can't praise someone for something that you didn't see them do, that you didn't witness, that you didn't experience, that you didn't. I mean, you can hear about it from somebody else, and that's kind of third party information. But you witnessed them doing something great. You can only praise them after you respect them, right? So when I wrote the RAPapproach, I started to realize that my thoughts about others and what they were doing had to be elevated. And the way for me to elevate those thoughts was to really dig in and really understand what these concepts and ideas are all about. It's more than just an acronym of respect, affection, and praise, because the parts of the acronym that are meaningful are actually very meaningful. And they're so useful in so many ways. So I want to share with you a real story of a client of mine named Francis. Francis lovely 42-year-old orthodontist, lived right here in Centerville, Virginia. Um, her She had been known in her industry for tremendous precision in her work and meticulous attention to detail. Frances was a local member of the Chamber of Commerce, and for years at the Chamber, she took a back seat. She'd come to meetings every once in a while. She'd take a back seat, not really fully engaging, because Frances, in fact, was an introvert. And she wanted to just make sure she was taking it all in. She understood all the leaders, what everybody was saying, who everybody was doing. So she never wanted to put herself out there for fear that people might reject her. Now, guys, I don't know about you. That's a normal feeling. But if you're in business and you have to develop the support of your community, I'm here to tell you, you have to learn to be better. Well, it just so happened that once there was a time when Frances was at the Chamber and she met this gentleman by the name of Mark. Now, Mark was one of these enthusiastic entrepreneurs who specialized in developing and leading team building workshops. He was really good at creating conversation and opening up people and helping them to find opportunities within their current environment. And he was really good at this particular moment, getting Frances to open up about some truths. When Frances was talking to, he had the corner Mark a little bit. Mark was, sort of social butterfly running all over the place. She had the corner Mark a little bit when she finally got to speak to Mark personally. Because she didn't want to be out in the open asking questions, stuff that this wasn't her way. But she got a chance to have a little personal dialogue, and Mark spoke to her so passionately about the importance of authentic praise in the workplace. He shared stories of how genuine recognition had transformed his own business and boosted the morale of his people and increased their productivity. Quite frankly, Frances was intrigued. And she asked more questions because she's a doctor. She wants to know how it works. So Mark really then broke out some social psychological research on the same topic, and he shared with her that when praise is sincere, timely, and specific, it can significantly enhance an individual's motivation, job satisfaction. And this is not about saying good job, right? But it's really about seeing and appreciating the effort and the thought that went into the work. Well, Frances was immediately fascinated, and she always valued hard work and decision making. And she realized this is going to take some time. It's going to take some time to express her appreciation in meaningful ways. And she's got to learn to do some things. But she began the very next day in her company. She started small, began to observe her team very closely, right? Looking around, making sure she understood what everybody was doing and their efforts and their contributions. And then her receptionist did something really good with a customer, and it was in Frances' earshot. She immediately said to Emily, "I really appreciate how you manage that situation. Your calm, your professional demeanor made a huge difference to that client, and we're going to now be able to keep that client for a lot longer. Thank you so very much for being so conscientious." Well, immediately, as you can imagine, right? Whenever you get authentic praise and you know it's authentic and you know it's real, and it's maybe from your boss or somebody that you have a high level of respect and appreciation for. Well, Emily's no different than you. Her face lit up. She said, "Thank you, Dr. Francis. You're amazing, Dr. Francis. That means so much coming from you. You have no idea how much I've waited and wanted and deserved. I know I wanted you to pay attention, but I just didn't know that you ever would." And the feedback was so amazing. Francis caught on fire. Like, you know what? I got to make sure I do this for more people. So as she began to engage with more of her staff members and her suppliers and people around her, she started seeing that she was boosting everybody's morale. She started seeing that people made a more conscious effort to double down and do more and give more and share more in the day-to-day operations of the practice. This began to have such a wide impact in her office that people started to go, wait a minute, Frances has made a change. There's some different things going on with Frances. Anyone who got back to the chamber that, her business was undergoing such a phenomenal success in terms of the changes in customer service, the changes in how the group began to relate and share and talk to one another, the opportunities they were having to boost one another based on Frances's lead. That was actually remarkable. So got back to the chamber, this was happening. They immediately started going, well, how did you do it? Um, how did you get people to be so motivated? How did you get them to be so happy? I mean, doing the same job day in, day out, what's the difference? And the key, we found out, was because Frances was recognizing those small efforts. And because she was recognizing and appreciating and sharing and praising these people, sometimes in private, sometimes in public, making sure that it's appropriate, right? She's able to look and make a huge impact in an organization. So we found in the research, and this is important, there's 4 core benefits to authentic praise. The first benefit is that it enhances the self-esteem of the people who receive that praise. They begin to feel better about themselves and their contribution, like nothing else could create. I mean, you can give yourself a bunch of attaboys. You can do that to yourself. I'm the greatest. I'm the most wonderful. I'm the greatest thing since sliced cheese. Sometimes you got to pump yourself up, and you got to say things that are exciting to you, right? About you, to you, story you tell yourself, right? It has to be one that is moving you in the right direction, but it also has to be believable. Or it's not gonna work. But what works even better though is when other people pour into you and they encourage you and they give you that way to go, attaboy, I like what you're doing right here. How did you do this? Can you tell me more about how you came up with this great solution? Can you tell me more about how I see you working hard on this? What's creating that energy and that you're using to really double down on the effort and really, really put a real good performance together? When you can get involved with people like that, that you're working with, and you take the time to do so, the results are amazing. The second thing it does is it improves their performance. When people feel like they've been seen and they've been understood in the work that they do, that's when they get really excited about doing even more, being even great. Now, you don't want to wait for a long time and then show up. Oh, all of a sudden, I've been impressed with you guys. You've been doing such a great thing, blah, 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 blah. That's not going to work the way you want it to work, because people are going to be like, where now you show up. I've been kind of easing back. I haven't really been doing very much. And what I've been doing is not genuine. And so you giving me praise for something that I don't even care about anymore. I don't even think about it anymore. You give me praise about it. It's kind of like, I'm wondering what you're up to. I'm wondering if it's useful, right? That's why it has to be quick, right? You can't wait to give people praise. You can't wait to the annual meeting. You can't wait till the fundraising organization gets together. You can't wait until the awards have been given, or the performance reviews are happening every 6 months or every year, however often you do them. And it can't be administrative. I mean, it has to be specific. It has to be relevant to that person and to the things that they're doing. It can't be something checking off boxes. That's not real, right? That's just administration. There's a difference between performance leadership and management, and then performance administration, right? If you're just checking off the boxes on the form and you don't really care, they don't really care, why are you doing it? You're wasting time and you're making things worse, right? The third thing that authentic praise does is it strengthens the relationship. Nothing feels as good as being accepted, as being encouraged. And what tends to happen when you are the first to do that for people, they give that right back to you. They give that same energy right back to you. Ayan Levenzat has a great quote here I want to share with you. The way to achieve your own success is to be willing to help somebody else get it first. So if you focus on helping your people and people around you become more successful, guess what they're going to do? They're going to focus on helping you become successful too. That's the law of reciprocity. And it works. It really does work. Now, where it doesn't work is when you got some grifters or some people who have nefarious or evil intent. And you have to start to become good at discerning about the character of those people before you engage, before you leverage a tremendous amount of trust in them, right? The third part that I think is so important when it comes to the benefits of authentic praise is that it increases a person's resilience. You need somebody to do a job that they think is hard and it's overwhelming and it's crushing them and it's really pressing down on them, right? What you have to do is to be the kind of leader that helps them build that resilience to get stronger. It's not simply about going to training or reading a manual or it's not simply about just gutting it through until you get it. I mean, grit has merit. I'm not saying that it doesn't. I am saying though that the inspiration for the grit has to be important. If you don't understand what motivates the person and what gets them excited and what moves them forward, you haven't accepted them. If they don't feel like they belong, if they don't feel like you've got their back, if they don't feel like you know you're a person, a strong tower they can lean on, then you're not going to get there. And you get thoughts like this thought that's shared by Maya Angelou. I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. When people are doing work with you and working for you, working around you, and they can't stand you, and they're doing this work in spite of you, but they're not going to put their best foot forward. It's impossible because they're going to feel assaulted. They're going to feel, cast to the wayside, on many occasions. And you don't want that. You want people to feel empowered when they're working with you, whether it's and no matter where the relationship is in the 360-degree arrangement, right? Wherever the relationship is, if they're a leader or they're your leader, or if they're collaborating with you, or if they're one of your associates, or even if they work for you or you work for them, it doesn't matter. What matters is understanding the benefits of authentic praise because it works all around. So let me read them to you one more time. Authentic praise enhances self-esteem and improves performance. It strengthens relationships and it increases resilience. Now, it's not like we haven't known this really a long time. And I'm going to share with you some of the spiritual basis for some of the greatest things we know about authentic praise as human beings. But before I get there, I want to tell you the 7 basic rules that you got to pay attention to. Number 1, I said it already, be observant and pay attention. Number 2, do what you can to be more empathetic. You have to understand people. Take the time to understand them. Take the time to get to know them, right? When you're paying attention, look for something that you care about, they care about, that matters, right? Catch them with some, just expressing some genuine appreciation. Number 3, practice clear and concise communication. If your praise is not understood, it cannot be appreciated. So you need to make sure that you're not bumbling it, or using too many words, or using too many confusing terms, or whatever that is. or using the love language that only you know, you have to understand the people that you're talking to, what they need and and how they want to hear what they want to hear, and make sure you give it to them the way they need it. Right? It's super, super important. Number 4, you must be sincere. Period. If you are not really feeling it, don't do it, because you're going to get yourself in trouble. Do not try to fake this. Do not try to commercialize this. Do not try to normalize it. It has to be special to be effective. It has to be specific to be effective, right? Number 5, be consistent. Oh my God, be consistent. You cannot just jump on people. I told you earlier, you're going to have to show up regularly and consistently. And even if you're taking them a little bit by surprise the first time you give them some praise. Surely by the 4th or 5th time you give them some praise, they get it. They understand that you value them, right? As long again as it is authentic, and they are receiving it as authentic. Sincerity, very, very important. Number 6, do it on time. You gotta be there when the praise is hot, when the opportunities are hot, when somebody just did something. That's the time to give them the praise, not afterwards. And finally, number 7, be specific. You must tailor your praise to the person and to the moment. Sometimes public praise is warranted, and sometimes private praise is the best. You need to understand who that person is, their culture, some of the things that they're important to them, and you understand how to give them this authentic praise. Now, like I said earlier, you know, in every religion, there are deeply held values about this authentic praise thing, right? It doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or whether you're a Muslim, whether you practice Hindu, whether you are a Buddhist, or whether you are, you practice uh, Judaism, right? No matter where you look, in all of the theories and philosophies and principles, there it is. You got to have authentic praise. Now, in the document, there's some deep stuff that I put in there to help people understand from a Buddhist perspective. One of my favorite pieces of scripture, but I'll let you go in and explore that on your own. But I want to tell you, there's 4 of all the religions I just spoke about. There's 4 common themes that are really pressing throughout all of it. One is the importance of promoting unity and harmony amongst people. You want to encourage positive behavior, not negative. You don't want to encourage negative behavior. You want to reflect the divine attributes of the particular um, spiritual or religious doctrine, right? And those divine attributes are always going to be emulating those qualities of love, kindness, and generosity. And number 4, you want to enhance the well-being of the general populace. And you do that by touching one heart, one soul at a time, right? And the way you do that can be a variety of different ways, but you got to get it, right? There's some virtues that we go through, some stories we tell here. Um, but I wanted to get to this thought, right? The receiver of praise and the giver of praise all have different chemical responses in their brain. Some similar, some different. Different parts of the brain wake up depending on your orientation and how you feel about giving and receiving praise, right? So for the person who receives the praise, this one's easy. We always know it feels good, right? Just get that dopamine hit, and it feels good. That neurotransmitter is associated with the response of pleasure and reward in your brain. And it even actually creates a praise loop. If you do this right, the person's going to give you the praise right back. because they're going to say, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I notice as a leader, you always do this for me, and it makes me feel so good. I'm so glad that you're here." Just yesterday, I was on the phone with one of my good friends who's angry, upset about what was going on in the world of federal government contracting, or even contracting supply diversity and all that kind of stuff based on what the government was putting down, right? Mr. Trump was doing some things that he didn't appreciate. And he also didn't appreciate the response of all the organizations that he belonged to, had given time and effort and energy and money to. He didn't think they were responding with a strong enough hand. And after I talked to him for a little while and it just kind of talked him off the ledge a little bit, and had him kind of rethink and reframe some of the ideas, and so I asked him some of these good coaching questions that I know, and all of a sudden, man, he started feeling good. He's like, "Man, I love talking to you. When I talk to you, you make me feel so good." And it took me by surprise because I didn't know that he's going to have that response. And I can't say that I intended on him having the response. I did not intend on him having a response. My intention was to make a contribution and to let him know that we've been here before. We've seen these things before. This is no big deal. Come on. You can't let you know, these times that we live in and the evil people that are doing the things that they're doing win. You got to think a little bit deeper about this. And of course you can, because you've done it before. It was reminded of who he was. And that's all he needed to, get back in the game and do things that need to be done, right? The second thing that happens to the receiver is it increases their motivation. You know, I can't tell you how many times in my coaching sessions people feel so moved and so encouraged to continue to perform well and strive for excellence in newer and deeper ways than they did before. Could they have gotten there by themselves? Maybe. But because of my help and encouragement, they got there quicker. Speed is important sometimes when you need that dopamine hit, you need to get it. You need to get it now. Right? Number three, it reduces stress. The receiver, if it's done right, will always feel less stressful. Because here's what's happening. The cortisol level, the stress hormone in their brain begins to lower. It begins to come down. And then so the feeling and the stress is reduced. Um, that there's a promotion or a sense of well-being, again, because of dopamine. Stress comes down, dopamine goes up. The last thing that happens when people do this well, the receiver is able to receive an enhanced sense of self-esteem, their concept, self-concept, their feelings about themselves. They're able to restore, a sense of meaning, of purpose, of value. They're able to generate more confidence in themselves and more faith in themselves and more pride in themselves as they begin to improve their performance. Their overall mental health begins to be affected in a positive way. This is how powerful authentic praise is, right? It's not me making this up. This is the science. It ain't no religious mumbo jumbo. This is the science. Now, let me show you what happens. This is the most important thing because for you, who I'm teaching to try to incorporate more of this into your life as the giver of that praise, you are going to get an oxytocin release really hard, really immediately, because you're telling someone how wonderful they are and what they've done to make you special, to make your organization work. That you're acknowledging their contribution, but also the benefit of their contribution. You can't do that without promoting a feeling of true connection and trust between the giver and the receiver. You can't tell somebody that they're amazing and you just watch them do something and you're like floored with, how powerful it was. And it meant so much to you to be able to see that. I'm so glad you're here in that moment to be able to see it and understand it, blah, blah, blah. When you're doing that, you're emoting. your brain is kicking up the love hormone, oxytocin, right? It's promoting feelings of connection and trust. The second thing that happens for the giver is, again, they create that positive feedback loop. All of a sudden, people are giving it back to you. Again, it happened to me just yesterday. I was on the phone with my good friend. I was talking him off the ledge, and what he said to me was, "Oh man, again, it feels so good just talking to you. I love talking to you. We gotta do this more often because it just makes me feel so good. I feel so good when I talk to you." And I'm like, wow, I can only share the things I share with you because I feel so good about who you are and what you do. And it's so meaningful to me to have the opportunity to share with you. And the feedback loop can continue to go as long as we let it go. We can have a love fest, just providing positive feedback. And the feedback loop just keeps going. And the giver feels good about making someone else feel good, reinforcing the behavior that offered the praise that generated the offer of praise in the first place. And it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on, as long as you want to. Now, I want you to think about some of the best times you've ever had with people and understand that this positive feeling is something that you shared. There's something called mirror neurons in your brain that when you feel good, people around you feel good. They feel good, you feel good. You feel good, they feel good. And it's a crazy loop of positivity that makes you feel bonded and makes you feel connected and makes you feel intimate with one another. I don't mean intimate in any weird or freaky kind of way, but I mean, just truly connected. Number three, and again, the giver is responsible for helping to improve the relationship. They're making the bond and the connections more meaningful because they're giving. Person who's receiving, it's like, wow, it's a gift. It's great. They pay more attention. They seek closer connection. People are less fearful. The relationships become stronger because you're fostering a supportive and collaborative environment. The last thing is, again, it increases empathy. When you get this right, people feel understood. You feel like you're understanding people better. In fact, you're understanding it better, right? Because you're getting the right kinds of feedback. So if you engage in a practice of recognition and appreciating others uh, in their efforts on a regular continual basis, I promise you're going to improve not just the environment around you, but your own personal emotional intelligence. You're going to be able to perceive and understand and manage and handle emotions so much better than when you don't purposely practice this that I'm telling you. Because when it's all said and done, it's about neuroplasticity. It's about improving our brain's ability to reorganize itself and form new neural connections, which makes us quicker to think, to understand, to be involved in situations where wisdom and insight can take over. Right? It allows us to enhance our whole well-being and the well-being of others around us. So it's approaching that hour now, and I want to close this down. But I want to share with you in the document, right? You're going to see a couple of things that are super important. I think you should think about. One, you're going to see that measuring up authentic praise skill assessment. And these are 10 questions that you can ask yourself to begin to reflect and positively understand what praise means and how you're using it. You could turn these into yes or no questions. You could turn these on a scale of 1 to 10 questions. How am I doing? You could you can do whatever you want to do with the questions, but most importantly, they give you an opportunity to track. They give you an opportunity to reflect on how you're doing, a temperature gauge, so to speak, on how you're doing with this authentic praise. Another practice I have is think about as again, you do your planning, you do your, you're looking into how you want to be today, right? And you want to write down some things. These questions are amazing tools and affirmations that you could look at and go, okay, today I'm gonna work on my awareness of cultural differences, right? And I'm gonna go to the people that come from different places, different spaces, economically, socially, racially, whatever brackets you want to get to. And I'm going to try to understand something about them that I didn't understand yesterday, right? And if what I understand I'm impressed with, obviously, I want to give them some praise for that. So you might want to have a conversation. Or the next day, you may go, oh, I need to be more specific in my praise. So I'm really going to take a look specifically at this one individual today, and I'm going to really pay attention to what he's doing. I'm really going to ask him some deep, meaningful questions, and I'm going to figure out if I can find out who they are and what they value and what they appreciate, and then it'll arm me to be able to share praise with them later if I need to, or immediately if it's warranted. Right? False praise to get you nowhere. That's how I want to end this. Don't do it. Don't fake it. Don't try to misrepresent it. You know, don't lie ever. Because this stuff will come back and haunt you and it will be to your detriment. All right, guys. This is today's session. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a good time. I know that the work was really important to me to do for you. And I hope that you receive it in a way that it's going to bless you. It's going to create more opportunities for you. And it's going to do what my good friend Michelle always says, it's going to magnify your territory. God bless you. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm out.